Underhells Campaign. Game 12. Spyre Hunters Tech Reapers vs Goliath Kombinat of Boiling Fury. Mission: Fuel Hunt. For the second time in the campaign, Spyre Hunters are playing a fuel collecting mission. In their previous attempt, they managed to secure a win against the Enforcers. Today they are matched with a very savage medium and close range gang. At least with standard deployment rules, we are expecting a much slower pace game, compared to a couple of previous ones in the campaign. Players rolled a total of 9 fuel barrels and deployed them across the battlefield, with the biggest chunk deployed in the no man's land. Ash clouds were providing increased visibility of 18-inch, instead of the usual 12 for this phase of the campaign. Crystal Maze, requiring fighters to test intelligence or become insane when moving more than 6-inch over the battlefield surface, could slow the game even further. Although Kombinat of the Boiling Fury is of a proto-Goliath descent, with many fighters bolstering higher than average mental stats, it would still be foolish to run over the battlefield surface, risking fighters potentially turning on their comrades. There were some upgrades for the Spyrers since their previous game. Huntmaster Fox was given a Caryatid Prime, obtained for free from the Terror level. He also spent experience for a step-aside skill. Oris Sullivan, scoring a lot of kills in the previous game, upgraded his toughness and ballistic skill, making him even more of a threat. For Goliaths, downtime money was mostly spent on the new champion, Forge Boss Tamer. Thanks to his bulging biceps, he can wield his Renderizer axe in just one hand, and use his Combi Stub plasma pistol in the other. For additional protection, he has been given a personal bodyguard, Sumpcroc Human Eater. There were also some small upgrades to the rest of the gangers, like Gunshroud for Firespear's bolt gun. For the deployment, Oris took the spot on the technical gantries, overlooking the right flank. He could provide a lot of firepower onto the middle of the board with his bolt launchers. On the road just below, an empty custom rig was deployed, with a nearby rig hand going on foot, ready to proceed to one of the fuel barrels. Theodore and Fox were deployed on the left flank, with the purpose of navigating treacherous shanty mining buildings. A single fighter could use infiltrating skill, thanks to the service tunnel tactic. Skipper Kurtz had an important task of lying in wait. Deployed just outside of Goliath's deployment zone, hidden on top of crates, he could pop out of his cover to blast a high-value target with his deadly Rud Fusil. Goliaths rolled the lowest possible crew size and assembled their 8-man squad. After calculating crew ratings, they were a pretty heavy underdog, with a staggering 600 credits difference. Kombinat decided to use those creds to get 2 underdog tactics for the game and roll on a support table created for this campaign. With a good roll, they got random 3 Broodscums, bolstering their numbers and activations. Goliaths used their whole deployment zone and mostly hung back. The last time they rushed forward, they got pretty heavily countered by the Oris leader of the Van Sar gang. This time most fighters deployed just a few inches from their edge of the board. On the right flank, leader Skullcrack was leading a bunch of gangers. A bruiser specialist Thunder Lightning, with a grenade launcher, was deployed on top of the middle bunker, with a mix of close and middle range fighters deployed on the ground floor. On the left flank was Tamer with his Sumpcroc and one of the Broodscums, ready to rush to the top floor of the construction. After offensive infiltration of the enemy skipper, Nightmare countered with his own infiltration. Staying just out of sight and possible repositioning range, he deployed behind a dilapidated building, ready to counter anyone approaching this area. Feeling enemy champions' presence, Major Kurtz didn't want to give up his advantageous deployment. He slightly adjusted his position and targeted Thunder Lightning on the bunker. Turning the Xeno's weapon to the maximal, he pressed the trigger. A large explosion sound rolled through the confined space of the Underhive. Kurtz, somehow, survived the misfire of the unstable weapon, but he will need to find an ammo crate before he will be even able to try reloading and fixing his gun. The enemy was hit, but the weapon's explosion must have nerfed the beam's strength, as no damage has been done. The accident attracted the attention of the Goliaths. Stormsplash blasted his stub cannon in the direction of the ferryman, wounding him in the process. Kurtz fell down from the crate on top of barrels filled with toxins. Miraculously, he still survives such an explosive start. The same could not be said about another fighter on the Spyrers side. Putting too much hope in their lightning reflexes, Jakara moved at a pretty exposed floor onto the building in the middle of the board. Goliath Road Mauler vehicle advanced forward and shot at the priority target, Jakara's pet. The high volume of fire of a twin-linked bolter was too much for the Caryatid to dodge, and it was taken out of action with a critical injury result. In a flashback from their previous game, Custom Rig again misfired his grenade launcher, failing an ammo check. The rest of the fighters from both gangs advanced forward, towards the fuel barrels. Exposed fighters were prime targets. Even just hitting an opponent did a lot, as it meant no loot fuel double action could be made by pinned fighters. After Sullivan moved deeper onto the gantry, Tamer ordered the nearby brood scum to climb on the ladder and attack the Oris with his shotgun. The unsuccessful attempt only made Sullivan angry. In his second activation, he aimed and seriously injured the enemy, still staying at pretty safe distance, hoping to use his overwhelming firepower to keep out enemy melee fighters. Hearing bullets flying above and screams of the mercenary brood scum, Tamer decided to wait in cover and not climb the ladder yet. The second turn started with one of the brood scums trying to loot fuel from a nearby barrel. It was booby-trapped and exploded right in his face, but his flak armor saved him from any injuries. Thunder Lightning tried again to hit the Spyrers shuffling around the middle building, but his grenade launcher jammed, and he will require some time to clear it. After his very unfortunate first turn, Skipper reconsidered his approach to the mission. He started to retreat back to his fellow gangers. Even more importantly, a regular loot crate that was opened in Spyre's deployment zone contained an ammo cache. If he managed to reach it, he would be able to reload his scarce weapon. He was closely followed by two Goliath champions. Gut Ripper was approaching on the ground floor, but without any ranged weapons he would have to be in range for a charge to do any damage. Nightmare, on the other hand, climbed on top of a building and followed the Ferryman from the vantage position. His goal was to control an enemy approach towards the red barrel on the roof of the opposite building. Pretending to also be following enemy Skipper, Goliath Mauler advanced on the road. But he focused his attention on another target. Leader Fox was getting fairly close to the fuel barrel and Oppressor decided to stop him. One of the bolt gun explosive rounds got through Huntmaster's armor and dealt 2 damage, also pinning him on the roof. Goliath Leader also drove forward and took a combi plasma pistol shot into Ferryman's back, scoring a serious injury. Firefight on the gantries on the side of the board continued. Brood Scum recovered from his wound at the end of the first turn, but was quickly seriously injured by Oris again. Sullivan also positioned next to the fuel barrel, but his mission action was unsuccessful. With the coast clear and Oris without any activations left, Tamer finally decided to proceed on the top floor and helped with a successful recovery of the brood scum. When we were all expecting a very interesting duel happening there in the next turn, all plans had to be changed. At the start of the second turn, 2 Tyramites appeared from the nearby spawn point. With priority secured, Spyre was first to act. He used both of his actions to move back behind a cover, pitting roaming horrors against the approaching Goliaths. The charge of the first Tyramite was devastating. With some poor positioning, the closest enemy was the Sump Croc. Being the primary target of the charge, he could not use his countercharge ability. Toxins made short work of the beast, and the lasting injury roll resulted in a memorable death, making it the shortest campaign survivability with only 2 full turns alive. All the Tyramites were quickly dispatched afterwards by combined firepower of Goliaths and Spyrers. In the middle of the board, chase after Abyssal Ferryman continued. Skipper managed to recover in the end phase and continued retreating towards the Spyrers deployment zone, but he had to leave one of the fuel barrels behind. Goliaths didn't want to risk moving all the way forward, and they sent one of the brood scums first, to bait the countercharge from Jakara and Huntmaster. Even more Tyramites joined the fray, this time way back within the Spyrers side of the map, forcing Righand and Theodore to adjust their focus on them. The custom rig tanked most of the attacks, but one of the Tyramites managed to crack through the side window and attacked the crew inside. From the wounds suffered, the driver blacked out, immobilizing the vehicle in the middle of the board for some time. Still shaken from the gruesome death of his pet, Tamer gave up moving forward on that flank and, alongside his shotgun-wielding brood scum pal, retreated back by the ladder and moved towards the middle on the ground floor. Oris Sullivan moved down the stairs, downing all the pesky horror bugs flying all over Spyre's vehicle. So far, on both sides, many of the mission tests failed. With a score of 1-0 for Spyrers, the 3 final barrels would decide the result of the game. The barrel near the ramp looked like it would be easily secured by the rig hand. But the incessant pressure of the Tyramites on this side put Oris in a difficult position to try to stop them, before they deal any casualties. This was a good time for Skullcrack to advance and attack the Spyre. His combi plasma pistol again found its mark, going through the armor, but only a flesh wound was scored. The driver, after regaining his consciousness, drove full forward into the enemy leader. With the initiative test failed, bulky Goliath fell down under the weight of his bike. This gave a brief moment for the rig hand to try to loot the fuel barrel, but it was empty. Ferryman, after surviving a hailstorm of shots, took a breather behind the building. The barrel that he passed by when running for cover was on the focal in the middle of the board. From time to time he was popping out of the cover to shoot on the Goliaths with his backup pistol. The brood scum was the first one to reach it, but constant shots made him unable to pick it up. This prompted Goliath champions to move towards it too, Gut Ripper moving through the middle while Nightmare jumping down from crates, giving up a good vantage position. This gambit was successful, as the Stimmer was able to loot the crate in the following turn. Goliaths got their first fuel point, equalizing the score. This left the last barrel, on top of the ramshackle building, to be the decider. After the all-in play for the middle objective, Goliaths, for a brief moment, left that flank unattended. With their superior mobility, Spyrers were quick to readjust their positioning. Theodore moved aggressively forward, making him the focus of the enemy, while leader Fox sneaked around and used a grappling hook to move directly next to the barrel. The duo of Firespure and Stormsplash tried to stop him. The first shot was successful, pinning the Spyre leader and resulting in a flesh wound. Fox got up, and with the follow-up shots missing him, he was able to open the fuel barrel. But it was empty, as most of the other barrels in the game. This means the game ended in a draw. With 9 barrels available, it was pretty remarkable that only 2 of them contained any fuel. But it made the game very interesting till the last activation. MVP for the Spyrers was chosen to be leader Fox, showcasing that not only brute strength, but also cunning movement and positioning can be appreciated in the game. For the Goliaths it was their vehicle, which scored 1 kill and managed to do some damage later on in the game. The most painful result from the game were 2 critical injuries on pets from both gangs. Caryatid Prime was saved by the Abyssal Team Survivor Enclave. But for Sumpcroc it was not possible, as the toxin damage from the Malstrain horrors was too much, and they lost a very expensive 130 credit pet in his very first showing. There will be no time for mourning, however, as in the next game they will be facing the Delac gang in the Lost in the Ruins mission. See you next time.